I am live again. I'm not sure what happened or why that happened, but we are live. Yes, I don't know what happened. By the way, though, that does give me a good segue. As people know, I have my 24-hour live stream coming up. People know. Oops, geez. Sorry about that. I have my 24-hour live stream coming up. If during the live stream I ever have any technical difficulties, which can happen, as we just saw, do not worry. Just stick around. You will find new a new stream. I'll restart the stream. I promise. Um, there may be, again, technical difficulties, but just hang tight. I may even try to break up the streams on purpose into a few different hours as a way to kind of give the technology a chance to catch up. Because it always sucks when that happens. So, but we're back. We're on this stream number two. Again, I'll do this stream for about 35 minutes. Gone. If you're there, then I hope you found me and I'll answer your question, which is that the Albert Pike letters to which you're referring were a scam or are a scam. They're not legitimate. If you search it up on Google, you'll find out that they are actually not legit. There is no Albert Pike conspiracy surrounding three world wars or anything to that extent. So there you go. Um, and Gone, if you're not there, then I'm very sorry that I didn't get to answer your question. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened or why it happened or what took place there. But unfortunately, technology is only great when it works. What's going on, Z? Doing well. Doing my second stream. My first one, you know, cut out. But getting ready for my next 24-hour live stream, October 21st. Getting ready for Halloween. Um, yeah, I saw that Dream Seeker. By the way, Z, this is the first time you can now engage in a super chat. So if you want to do a super chat for $1 or donation for $1, please feel free. It's kind of a cool thing, and I'm very grateful for all of my audience members, including yourself, Z, who made it possible. Because the one reason I can do this is because of the audience members giving me the watch time hours, the likes, the shares, the subscriptions, all that good jazz. If you don't want to do any of that, that's perfectly fine. I'm just happy that you're here. Yeah, well, that's the problem with conspiracy theories is sometimes, a coincidence happens and the next thing you know, it feeds into whatever it is that you believed. So the bitter irony of that whole thing. Um, but yeah, I guess from now on, he's going to believe that somebody jumped in and cut the feed. It is always Albert Pike. So, Z, how's it going with you? How is things in Alabama treating you? I hope I got that correct. If I recall correctly, it is Alabama. Oh my gosh, so terrible. I'm very sorry to hear that. How did you, if you don't mind asking, how did you end up in the hospital? And I'm hoping that your recovery is, scheduled and is going to go well. But that sucks. I'm really sorry to hear that. Wishing you quick recovery. All right, Con, you are back. So, as I was saying, to my understanding, that is a myth, or not a myth, but a forgery or fraud. Albert Pike never actually wrote any letters predicting World War III. Or at least I don't believe that he did. I am a Mason, John Barnocki. Barnocki. I've been a Freemason since 2007. I think it's cool as well. Interesting enough, Reddit, so Amazon Music has the thing here for some reason. I think it was a podcast. Interesting. There's a Down the Rabbit Hole podcast episode that talks about it on Amazon Music. Yes, we're all hoping you feel better. Z. Cool. If you don't mind me asking, John, where is here? Where is the here of which you speak? And by the way, I hope, John Bernacchi, you'll subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Mount Dora, Florida. I've been to Masonic lodges in Florida, but exclusively in and around the Orlando area, which I loved. Orlando is incredible. I got one of the worst sunburns of my life while I was in Orlando, but that's for another day. It's really cool. If you want to learn more about it, I would suggest not even dealing with me. Just go knock on their door. Speak with them, ask them how they're doing, and ask them, any questions you have. Having said that, if you have any questions you want to ask me, I hope that you will do so. I'm a Mason from Canada, Windsor, Ontario. So Florida is a different jurisdiction than us, but that doesn't mean there's not some general information I can share with you. And if you want to be cool, you can give me $1 super chat for fun. I've just had the super chat for a couple days now, and I'm really enjoying, getting to connect with my audience. Well, unfortunately, I do not know what Nephilim is. It's biblical, right? So I guess I can't really help you with that, Gon, because I do not know what a Nephilim is. I can tell you I've never heard that word in any of my Masonic rituals or events in which I've taken part. So I don't know. The Anunnaki mating with the human. I mean, I can assure you there's no mating with the human women of any sort in Freemasonry. Freemasonry is a social club. What Freemasons do in their own time is a whole different can of tuna. And their marriages and their relationships and all that. But in the lodge, we had nothing to do with that. It's a separate thing. But sorry, Gon. I mean, who suggested we had a connection with them? Let me check this out. Nephilim Freemasonry. No, John. You have to be over a certain age. In Ontario, you have to be over the age of 21. Most jurisdictions in the States, it's over the age of 18. Actually, it looks like the Book of Enoch is where it's mentioned. And I think Enoch does come up in some Masonic ideas. So in Alabama, I guess it's 21. In Florida, it could be 21 as well. In a lot of jurisdictions in the States, it's 18 years of age. But you have to be over a certain age, but there is no maximum age. You could be 105 years old and become a Freemason. How do we handle those who stand against the American system? Freemasons run. By the way, Joel, welcome. You can, if you want, give me a super chat of just $1. I'm seeing how those work. I'm not going to confirm nor deny whether we have handshakes. What I will say, Nathan, is what we have are modes of recognition, which are private ways that we can recognize other Masons. I guess I'd have to ask Joel a little bit more from you in terms of what you mean by that. I mean, it's not really our responsibility to stand against or handle people who stand against the American system precisely. I think we as Freemasons have a responsibility to help our communities. And in doing so, hopefully, we demonstrate the better way for people to act and govern themselves, including the democratic principles on which Freemasonry, acts. But I don't actually think we should think about it in terms of handling people who are standing for or against America, right? We should always be supportive of our countries, of our civic institutions, of our civil institutions. However, within the context of that, we should also understand that people have different views and opinions and be respectful of that. But welcome, Joel. Thank you for being here. Um, Nathan, thank you for being here. Uh, John, I hope I answered your question well. Ask me any other questions you want. I'm happy to answer them as best as I can. And I really appreciate you being here. I always love when I get new people on the stream and new people to chat. These 1 a.m. streams, I don't have any particular topics. I just talk about whatever. Um, Gon, it's interesting you bring up the circuses. My suspicion is what he was actually referring to was the shrine, which is an independent body of Freemasonry. And famously, there existed for many years the shrine circuses, which still exists. But that's a Masonic appendant body, right? I have nothing to do with running circuses, and I've been a Freemason for 21 years. Well, because a lot of people, I think it's the most ubiquitous discussion point, the idea of handshakes. It was what pops up the most. I don't know why people are fascinated by it, but it is really interesting about the idea, how fascinating people seem to find it. I find it interesting myself. I think it's more just in general they're curious about it. Like Monty Python had um, an incredible skit about the Masonic handshake. If you ever get the chance, type into YouTube Monty Python Masonic handshake. It's hilarious. It's hilarious, I should say. Well, don't do that, patiently happy, because that's incredibly unkind and cruel and mean, and you shouldn't do that. So, not okay. Um, I agree with sport freedom. I mean, how are they trying to oppress? I think if they're trying to oppress by just, you know, talking and just giving their views, then all we can do is try to give our own views in our own context, right? So if someone's on YouTube sprouting a bunch of nonsense about Freemasonry or about whatever it is, then for me, the best way to approach it is we get our own YouTube channels and speak our views on Freemasonry and just do a better job speaking than he does, is really all you can do about it, right? If somebody's trying to actually oppress people by being violent or intimidating, then it's about calling the authorities or stepping in and trying to deal with the situation. But if it's just a matter of people saying a bunch of nonsense, we need to say our own truth and just do so better. Um, this patiently happy seems like a very unkind person and definitely not a Mason. Thank you, Gon. I will check out Understanding Conspiracy. I appreciate you giving me that information very much. Um, there's many different ways to recognize. The modes of recognition, a lot of them derived from stonemasonry guilds, right? Where you didn't have things like dues cards or guilds cards. You needed to rely on grips, tokens, whatever it might be in order to confirm who was or who wasn't a stonemason. It was about protecting trade secrets, if anything. Uh, Honestly, though, somebody mentioned above the idea that the best way to recognize a Mason is through the ring. That is the worst way to recognize a Freemason because rings are available to purchase in stores around the world. You don't need to be a Freemason to purchase a ring. Sometimes rings can be passed down from family. Sometimes people can ask for a ring. Same thing with like a jacket, a necklace. Just because someone is wearing the Masonic symbol does not mean they are a Freemason. The best approach to take in that regard is if you think they might be because of something they're wearing, still ask for a dues card, ask for lodge information. Um, do you take an oath regarding acknowledging a creator? Um, I wouldn't use the term acknowledging. I don't think that's quite correct. We take oaths that um, not acknowledge is exactly the right word. We take oaths that respect the supreme being of the individual Mason taking the oath. So if you're a Muslim taking the oath, you are taking an oath respecting your supreme being as being, Allah. If you're Jewish, if you're Christian, you're taking an oath respecting, I guess, God as understood in the Bible, the Trinity. If you are an indigenous Mason taking an oath, you're respecting your understanding of a creator. It doesn't so much acknowledge the creator as saying, like, we acknowledge there is a creator or anything like that. It's more respecting the fact that whomever is taking the oath has a belief in a supreme being and trying to respect that belief. If that makes any sense. I hope it does. Okay, I did not know that, Raven. Thank you for sharing. I like to be respectful of everybody's religion and learn more about it. Well, not accepting the higher power because you already have to believe in a supreme being to become a Freemason, right? It's not. It's not about accepting it because you will already believe in a supreme being. Freemasonry isn't responsible for making people believe in a supreme being, nor has a supreme being. Rather, it's about respecting the belief of the individual Masons and whomever they find to be their supreme being of whatever faith it is they have. Okay, I mean, I can only imagine how challenging it was to be part of the Iraq War, Raven, but I'm still, I think you learned a very valuable lesson in respecting people's faiths. Um, Freemasons, that's pretty funny, Maverick. You know what, Maverick? That is pretty funny. By the way, to everybody watching this, Maverick, Raven, Patiently Happy, although I'm very much not a fan of you, and Patiently Happy, you may find yourself on timeout soon. I hope that you will take part in the super chat. You can do a super chat for $1. Heck, you can probably do a super chat for 50 cents. I just love to see some more super chats. Is something different I'm trying out and something I have the opportunity to try. So the term is supreme being, Raven, if you are ardently atheistic in the sense that you refuse to believe in any type of supreme being at all, then technically you could not be a Freemason. Having said that, the way that Freemasons define supreme being is very liberal, and most people that certainly a religious person would consider to be an atheist. Freemasons would not. But if you were, refused to believe in any type of supreme being of any sort, then you cannot you would not be able to join. But honestly, I've never met anybody who has not joined because or were denied acceptance because they did not have some type of belief in a supreme being. Now, there have been some I've known who have chosen not to apply because they said, I don't believe in any type of supreme being or higher power, but that is, so they don't apply. But honestly, in my opinion, when people tell me that, what I always tell them is talk to the lodge about what you actually believe. See if you can figure out how to make it work. Some lodges are going to be more or less strict about it. Raven HQ, zero worries. I'm just happy that you're here. It's wonderful that you're here. By liking, by commenting on videos, by sharing these videos, it helps out majorly. Becoming a free Patreon member helps out majorly as well. So I think a lot of people feel that way, Raven. I think you're not alone in any means when it comes to that. I hope that you are doing well either way. By the way, somebody asked me above about Nephilim. Um, there is an interesting article in the Square magazine about that, which you can check out. I'll leave it in here. I think I talked about that before, but it looks like it was in the book of Enoch, because somebody said, I totally believe there's issues with the information mainstream faiths offer. I get concerned about mainstream religions as well. I would not describe myself as being religious in any of any sort. I am, however, believe in a supreme being. Um, and I also believe that everybody, if they find peace and comfort in religious belief, then that is a wonderful thing, and they should embrace that. Yes, we can do the 29th. We'll do it on my personal channel. I just need to know what time you want to do it. Same time as before. Do it for about an hour, give or take. Yes, Nathan. Well, it started earlier than that, but for an easy date, June 24th, 1717. You can probably push it back to around 1634 in Scotland. If I recall correctly, Rose Hall Chapel, when you see the first speculative Mason join a Masonic lodge. But when people ask me, and I'm looking for a quick answer and an easy answer, I would use June 24th, 1717. It's a bit like saying, when did America start? Like, obviously, July 1st, 1776 is the date people go with, but that doesn't mean there was nothing in America before that. There was plenty of kind of precursors to America. So, but for ease of use, June 24th, 1717. You're not wrong, Joel. Well, I mean, I'm going to do the quick search. First speculative Masonic member year. 1646, looks like, according to Grok. But there was one in London as well. One in Scotland. First Freemasons. This is going to drive me crazy now, because I'm first recorded speculative Freemason. Welcome. Thank you for being here. There it is. I was right. The first recorded speculative Freemason, William Lord Alexander, and his brother Anthony Alexander, initiated July 3rd, 1634 in the Lodge of Edinburgh. So there you go. So 1634 in Scotland. Hello, neighbor. I hope you're well. Thank you for being here. Well, I mean, it was called the Premier Grand Lodge of England. Freemasonry, I mean, the term has a couple different potential origins, but most likely refers to freestone. Well, there was a few different lodges in London before 1717, right? There's many speculative and operative lodges. By the way, Michael McCrae, if you want, you're interested, I hope you'll consider doing a super chat of even $1. It'd be really cool to see some more people engaging in the super chats. And it's always fun to see them grow or become a member of the channel, all that good jazz. Yeah, no, it was a type of limestone. Annie Rudd, I think you're new to the stream, so please hit like and subscribe if you can. I'd appreciate it. Is recorded history, well, I mean, I don't know about different. I mean, it's the history that is recorded on the internet versus the history that's recorded in books versus the history that's passed down orally versus the history that is prehistory and not even recorded but is exclusively through the archaeological record. Obviously, all three are different, but I think there's value to all. I think when it comes to things like using, for example, Chat GPT in order to, thank you, Michael McRae, that's really kind of you, in order to understand history, I think what you need to do is take everything with a grain of salt. Even take what I say with a grain of salt, right? Like, don't just rely on my word for it. Do your own research. But the internet, it's both a blessing and a curse when it comes to when it comes to research of any sort, right? You have to be so hesitant about it. Having said that, this 1634 date is congruent with other things I've researched. So, in my opinion, it's pretty likely accurate. And thank you, Michael. That's incredibly kind of you. Michael, do you have any thoughts or questions about Freemasonry? That's what we're doing, hanging out. I'm sure it will. Ask the question, Will, as to whether will ChatGPT tell me how big your grain of salt is. Compromised by whom, Nathan? But Michael, that's incredibly kind of you. I just became able to collect super chats, able to accept super chats, thanks to all of my incredible audience members who watch my videos, who share my videos, and who comment on my videos. I don't think they could, Raven. I think I told this story once, or a few times actually, but a Satanist once approached me about becoming a Freemasonry. Or a Satanist once approached me about becoming a Freemason. However, when I talked to him what Freemasonry was and how it operates and what it represents, he decided he did not want to join because he decided Freemasonry was not, did not fit in with his Satanist beliefs. So you can take that for whatever it's worth, I suppose. See, I don't think Google is compromised. I don't think government's compromised either. I think government is primarily groups of people trying their best and facing big challenges. In theory, I think it's possible. I've just never met a Satanist Freemason, so it's hard for me to say. And the one I did meet who was interested in becoming a Freemason decided not to. So, it's really hard for me to say. I guess it's one of those things where we'll see if it ever actually does happen. I've been told there's a few Luciferian Freemasons, but I've never met them either. I've not, Ishmael, because again, to be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. Now, I've met some Masons who a church would consider to be an atheist, for example, because their idea of a supreme being is more spiritual, less based on an actual kind of holy book, but I would not define them as atheists. Oh my gosh, what do you see has Pike influenced on Masonic traditions? That's a tough one because honestly, Pike has influenced more non-Masons than Masons is the issue, right? If anything, we've spent so much time trying to battle against Pike's influence in terms of what non-Masons think. Certainly, he's had an influence on Scottish Rite, the Southern jurisdiction, and even the Canadian jurisdiction quite a bit. So you need to look for his influence more on Scottish Rite than Freemasonry in general. I mean, as a general rule, I tend to never assume compromise or nefarious qualities when I can assume incompetence, which I think is more what I would assume in this case, in my personal opinion, or not, or just getting it wrong, right? And it's hard to get things right when you're dealing with these things. That's not an excuse, but I guess in some ways it's an understanding because I've made a million mistakes, so I'm sure Google will make a million mistakes too. Yes, morals and dogma. Welcome, Rainy Girl 65. I hope you're doing well. If you want to do a super chat, feel free. I've got a few people who've done so kindly. But morals and dogma has been a pain in the butt in a lot of different ways. It's got a lot of valuable information. You just need to be careful that you are not over assuming its value. And that's a message for non-Masons and Masons alike. Mistakes are part of the human experience. Absolutely. We'll never get that ashlar to be completely perfect. So we need to keep that in mind. But that doesn't mean we don't try every day to make things a little bit better. At least I hope that we try to make things a little bit better. God knows rabbit holes are a thing. I mean, I wouldn't say that, Joel. I think certainly as America was being founded, Masonic ideas influenced its development, but many things influenced its development, just like many things influence Masonic development, right? I think we need to be careful that we as Freemasons don't, because on the one hand, um, conspiracy theorists will overestimate the value of Freemasonry and the importance of Freemasonry on historical events as a way to justify their ideas about conspiracy. However, I think we in Freemasonry can sometimes go the opposite. We will overestimate the importance of Freemasonry in a positive way to make it seem bigger than what it is. I think we need to be hesitant on both. I think we need to be appreciative and honest of the fact that Freemasons were part of the founding of many countries, and the ideals of Freemasonry helped shape those foundings. However, it was not the exclusive thing or the one thing. It was part of an overall approach that people took. And especially you need to keep in mind, in the American Revolutionary War, King George was a Freemason as well, right? So you had a Freemasons fighting on both sides of the Revolutionary War. Um, Struggling does make you stronger. John Smith Jr., welcome. There's a lot of Masons in my family too. I'm a Mason, my dad is a Mason, and both of my grandfathers were Masons, and an uncle was a Mason. Raven, it almost sounds like you're taking the absurdist point of view or an absurdism philosophical stance, such as Albert Camus would take, um, which I think is not a bad approach. John Smith, when you say Mormons are the new Masons, what do you mean by that precisely? And welcome to the channel, by the way, John Smith. I hope you like and subscribe. Certainly, Joseph Smith, who founded Freemasonry. Sorry, excuse me. Oh gosh, the conspiracy theorists are gonna have a field day with this. Joseph Smith, who was a Freemason, founded Mormonism. I believe Joseph Smith is the right name. He certainly, from what I understand, borrowed many Masonic ideas and patterns when creating Mormonism, but that doesn't mean Mormonism is the new Freemasonry. We still have many Mormons who are Freemasons, but many are not. And if certainly anybody wanted to become a Freemason, they should become a Freemason. They should not become a Mormon. They're different things. Mormonism is a religion. Freemasonry is a civic group. You're not late at all, your local Spurs fan. You never have to be here. I know you're I kept you as a mod because you like that. However, you don't need to be here. I can find other mods, I promise. Well, many things are secretive, John Smith. That's not exclusive to Mormonism nor to Freemasonry. Oh, no, there's a lot. I mean, certainly, I think in general, the philosophical idea in the value of democracy and why democracy is the ultimate way to share or to bestow power on individuals, the consent of the people. I think that's a very Masonic idea, without question. Kind of especially in the Constitution, the pushing away from naming a specific deity or religion, but rather being welcoming of all faiths, I think is a very Masonic idea as well. Sure, indigenous people as well. But I guess, John, I don't know what that would mean. Like, first of all, Mormonism is not new. It's been around for what, 100 years, thereabouts. Um, but also, like, I've never heard any Mormons say we're the new Freemasons, or you can join us and you're joining Freemasonry, right? Like, I guess I'm just not sure what that would mean. I don't even know what it would mean to be the new Masons. Like, it kind of like when people say like 40 is the new 30. Like, I don't know what that means. Like, Freemasonry is Freemasonry, Mormonism is Mormonism. One is not trying to be the other. Um, get to sleep, Dream Seeker. But I guess 7 a.m. Friday. Just make sure you're there because I don't want to wake up early for no reason because I'm very lazy. Um, and smoking can be a mod as well. But shoot, Raven, ask the question. I'll do my best to answer it. But that's true. But again, many groups have secretive qualities to them. That doesn't mean they're the new Masons. Um, Human nature, part of it is a desire to have some things maintained in camera. Families have family recipes that are secret. That doesn't mean that they are the new Masons, right? I have no idea. Um, and then the Jehovah Witness. So again, as Rainy Girl, kind of making a joke, I think, but not really. Making a valuable point. You have, the Jehovah's Witnesses are the new Mormons. Mormons are the new Masons. Masons are the new stonemasons. Like you can, I don't think it means that much. Kind of this idea of the new or the old thing. It's again, Freemasonry is Freemasonry, Mormonism is Mormonism. Too much I have no idea what too much polyester means. I will say you could be a Jehovah's Witness and be a Freemason. You could be a Mormon and be a Freemason. I actually don't think I've ever met any Jehovah's Witness Freemasons. Um, oh, so the idea of the Knights Templar made it to the New World. I mean, I've always been very, very skeptical of that as an idea. I'm not aware of this image, but I'll see if I can find it. I'll do a Google search for it. Um, I mean, I can give you my perspectives. Um, I'm not a political science major. I can't. I mean, the problem with like a democratic republic is a type of democracy. Um, it's not. So to me, democracy is just a broad term that refers to any number of systems of government in which power is in some way, shape, or form um, given to an individual and individuals based on the consent and the will of the people. It doesn't mean a full will. So, for example, even in a democracy, um, that doesn't mean everybody gets to vote. You don't get to vote if you're a kid, for example, under the age of, let's say, 18. Um, right? So you have to register in some cases, or you have to have ID in some cases, depending on the country you're in. Like, there's a lot of different ways that this overarching idea of, um, this idea of like democracy is about the will of the people being represented through government agents, but that doesn't mean the will of every person. Um, there's rules and regulations about who can exercise that will, be it age or any other number of things. The republic, a democratic republic, is one in which the power is held by elected representatives of people. So, for example, here's the way to think about it, right? If you had a pure democracy, every single time that you had to make any decisions, everybody would get a vote. That'd be a pure democracy, which would be insanity, right? A democratic republic is one in which you have elected representatives who make decisions, but those representatives are elected under democratic means every 4 years to 5 years, um, to whatever it might be, right? Um, if that makes sense. Rick Grimes, I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff. Constitutional or a constitutional republic or democracy is one in which, again, you have a democracy, you have people electing representatives, but they are limited through a constitution or through the will of the people. So you can't elect somebody who then says we're going to throw everybody with no legs into the river because that would be violating the Constitution. So it's about you have democracy in the broad sense, which is about the will of the people being represented, but then you have different ways in which the will of the people is limited or controlled, whether it be you elect representatives who then make decisions for a 4-year term, then you have a new set of elections, or you have a constitution that, again, people can vote, but there's a limit on what their elected representatives can do. Rick Grimes, I'm going to actually assume you're being truthful and not trolling, and I'm going to say good for you. Men have a responsibility to take care of themselves, so good for you. Um, it's one of those things where I think we need to, again, I'm a believer in democracy. I believe that democracy is the most moral system where you have power given to individuals as a representative or through the will of the people. However, I do believe you need constitutional democracy of some sort where you have some type of head of state or statement or document that protects the rights of individuals against the encroachment of the whole. Um, I mean, whether it's a republic or a constitution, I think the danger of a democratic republic is there's the head of state and head of government are the same things, which means, the head of government and head of state, there's nothing to stop him from, in a 4-year period, committing some type of horrible atrocities, unless you have a very strong constitutional system. But if you have a constitutional democracy where you have a king or a document or something that separates the head of state from head of government, it does provide more protections against tyranny of the whole. If that made any sense, I hope it did. Um, I don't know about term limits, how I feel about them, Raven. I have my concerns with the idea of term limits because it does seem somewhat undemocratic. Why can't you just vote the person out if you don't like them, right? Um, sure, Raven, do all the tests. You have a responsibility. It does, Joel. To my knowledge, it does. And that's a credit to the founders. And maybe in some ways a credit to Freemasonry, or at least a credit to Masonic ideals that made their way um, into our into the Constitution. You do, and that's why again I think what you need is something like in Canada. I'm a firm monarchist. I appreciate having the monarchy because it's helps me feel good to know there's somebody who is not subject to the will of the people who can, if our government becomes insane and decides everybody named Cameron gets thrown off a bridge, the king can step in and say no, that's not going to happen despite the fact that the elected government says it will. I'm going to say no. It's nice to know that that exists. X the demon, thank you for being here. Um, well, Raven, get yourself to sleep. X the demon, if you before you go to bed, why don't you take a moment to give a super chat of $1? Just because I'm trying out the super chats, I want to see how they go, how they work. It's one of those things where I just received this capacity to um, have this capacity to get monetized, get super chats. That's thanks to all the people who support my channel. I think the Canadian government's all right, Nathan. I'm a fan of it. Um, it's tough. Then zero worries, X the demon. I just appreciate you being here very much. It's very kind of you. Um, Fair enough, Joel, and I feel the same way. Thank you so much for being here. Um, that is true, but hopefully we can, you know, get some rest here in our earthly form as well. No, I appreciate that, X Demon. You can always share these streams as well, but thank you for coming on the stream. I do really appreciate it. Well, thank you, Raven. That's incredibly kind of you. I mean, I guess I'm not happy that your child is teething or not happy, but I guess I'm happy that he's keeping you awake because it means you can come and see me. So that's much, much appreciated. And I enjoy these 1 a.m. streams. It's one of those situations where I feel like for a while I was getting more people on at 1 a.m. than 1 p.m. Clearly, my audience was a lot like me, night owls. However, now we're getting more 1 p.m. Audience members. So, I mean, like I was saying, your local Spurs fans, I would hope that you would maybe take the time to go see a doctor. If you're having trouble sleeping and it's not getting any better, then I think it's worth it you going to see a doctor. And I hope though that however it is, you get some sleep soon. I know it can be tough. And once you get into a pattern of not sleeping well, it's hard to break. No worries, Smokey. Go get ready for work. But thank you for being here. Maybe you have to talk to your doctor about why melatonin's doing nothing, if it's not, or at least if it's not doing a sufficient amount. Um, Maybe there's some things that work better for some and some that work better for others. I mean, that's very true, Joel. Freemasonry in general was opposed to kings. However, King George was a Freemason, so you need to take that with a grain of salt. Um, I mean, whatever the drug, I would be very hesitant about giving any type of advice about medications. I can just say your doctor should be the one to prescribe medications. Um, it's hard. I mean, everybody, not just Freemasons, but everybody is struggling with how best to deal with these things, right? Um, just make sure you talk to your doctor first, your local Spurs. Belt, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you've noticed, I now have the super chat option. If you'd like, you can leave a super chat for $1, $2, whatever it is. I'd very much appreciate it. Trying out something new here. I now am monetized, which is wonderful. And it's thanks to all of my fans, such as yourself. So, um, or if not, then no worries. Just hit like and subscribe to everybody joining us. I can't pronounce that. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. The mind is the matrix of all matter. The mind is the matrix of the matter as we perceive it, but I would say it's not the matrix of matter. It's Cameron. Um, no worries. Don't rush it, Joel. And you don't have, I just suggest it to everybody because I want to make sure they see it's now available. I don't want people to not notice it's available. Having said that, if you can, awesome. If you can't, you know what? I'm just happy you're here. That's the most important thing. Um, Again, everybody talk to your doctors for heaven's sakes. Do not take medical advice from the stream or from me. Um, I mean, and I think Kanye West kind of went crazy. So thank you, Raven. But square and compass. That's the key because that's how you find it. I have my personal YouTube channel called, which is Cameron Adamson, and I have a few other channels. However, uh, for this one, it's Square and Compass, but any recommendations are incredibly kind. What I would say, Joel, is sometimes it's best to just avoid these topics altogether, um, whether it be in America or anywhere else, as a potential suggestion. Um, it's tough, because you want to bring these things up. You want to talk to people. You want to be able to engage productively. But if they don't want to engage productively, then how do you, right? Um, I went to liberal schools. Well, the term fascist is kind of becoming very I feel like it's become kind of meaningless in some ways. It's used so often, so randomly. I don't know, wham bam. I think we are part of this world. I feel like I'm part of this world. I promise you I'm not wise, Joel. I'm struggling with figuring out how to navigate it myself. I guess what I'd say is, as a general rule, I have to make a decision every day, or almost every day. How do I engage in these topics? And am I willing to engage in them at the risk of getting being called names? Which certainly, if I was afraid of getting called names, I wouldn't be on YouTube where Eric can jump in the chat and call me a name. So that's just part of the kind of that's part of the cost of doing business, right? For better or worse. But you also have to accept the fact that when you're online, it's a little bit different than in person. I'm never going to be scared of a comment attacking me. If things get heated enough in person, you have to throw down. That becomes a whole other can of tuna, and best to avoid altogether. We're going to give it another. Who is Brown Hat? We're going to give it another few minutes. Um, this has been a really fun stream. We're going to give it a few more minutes. I got exciting news to share tomorrow. But let's give it a couple more. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe if you're just joining us. Wham bam. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry before I end this stream. Um, if you have any comments, any ideas about Freemasonry, when you talk about science constructing our world for us, let me know if you think that's a Masonic idea, or just any thoughts you have on Freemasonry. I'd love to hear it. It's already better, Belt. It's already better. At least I hope so. So that's certainly true, Raven. There's a lot of the world that we cannot engage with without the help of technology. Like, we can't see infrared waves, we can't see heat waves the way, let's say, a snake can. But I think we all interpret the world based on our senses and form a picture. The picture isn't true per se, but it's as close an approximation to truth as we can get. Um, Derek, instead of having cousin Charity, Derek, why not have super chat Charity? and give me $1 or $2 super chat. That would be very much appreciated. Instead, which Raven? You just described Freemasonry. So congratulations. Freemasonry is exactly the same thing as what you said. Exactly what I talked about. Freemasonry is an individual experience. Individual experience with shared aspects. And that's also true for the way we understand the world. Every single person has slightly different senses, right? Like for me, I don't have a sense of smell. So my experience of understanding the world is an individual experience in that I don't have the same experience that anybody else does because I don't have my sense of smell. But we still share all the other aspects of the world. So it does for sure, Raven. It does for sure. Well, Derek, that doesn't help me at all. So no help in the least. But to everybody watching this, thank you as always for being here. And Raven, you never will. However, that's okay because I never will. And nobody ever will, right? The goal should never be to achieve full enlightenment. It should just be to try and become more enlightened every day. A little bit more enlightened every day. I think that should be the goal. And if you can do that, then you will find yourself, I think, on the right path. Yes, get yourself to sleep. I keep meaning to go to sleep, and then people keep jumping in the chat. Well, wham, bam, maybe the weird stuff's already here. But I still think there's a lot of good in the world. And I honestly am a fan of technology. Whether or not brain chips are a good thing or a bad thing, I have zero idea. But I definitely think that I have a lot of faith in technology to be a force for good. Well, so Raven, there are like the secret. Freemasonry isn't special. Masons are special. Like, how do I put this in a way that makes sense? So get yourself to sleep. How do I put this? Because I have no idea that's too many, but make sure you talk to your doctor. But not if you. Okay, so if I were to say, I've talked about this before. My favorite song is "Simple Man" by Leonard Skinner. Second favorite is "Prodigal" by Blacktop Mojo. That's my favorite song in the world, though. You could say to me, I've listened to that song and I don't like it. You could get you can get chords and lyrics and melody from any other song. Like, what is it about Simple Man? Well, honestly, it has nothing to do with Simple Man. It's something about me. The things you love choose you. You don't choose them. In the sense that there's something about me, my personality, my what was happening in my life, whatever it is, it caused me to fall in love with the song Simple Man and to remain in love with it all these years later, right? But it's me. I'm the one who finds the thing, right? So when you say, I used to think becoming a Freemason was the only way. For certain people, Freemasonry is the way to achieve enlightenment and to be a better contributor to society. But that's not because Freemasonry is unique, it's because they're unique. There's something about them, their personality, their history, their ideas that encourage them to promote, find, engage with, be part of Freemasonry, and that makes them fall in love with it, right? But everybody has to decide for themselves if they will fall in love with it, and the way to do that is to join. But definitely, Freemasonry is not the only way. There are many ways, and which way works best is an individual decision, an individual choice. Just like I can't tell you what your favorite song should be because I can't hear music through your ears, through your experiences, through your life, through your disposition. Only, you can do that exclusively. I cannot experience Freemasonry through you. You have to experience it on your own and come to your own decisions about the ways that it will allow you to be a better person and contribute through the world. If that makes any sense at all. Well, thank you, Wham Bam. I would agree. I would not use those terms. I would say there exists within me an immortal idea. And Raven, I'm very sorry that you have terrible social issues. I'm not always much of a people person myself, to be honest. I can have real struggles with being around people sometimes, but I try my best. And a lot of times it's about taking contrary action. All right, guys, I'm going to be, I think, ending this stream, but thank you so much to everybody who's been here. I truly appreciate it. As always, I hope as you go, you'll hit the like button and the subscribe button. And have an excellent night. I'm sorry about that, Raven. I consider you a friend. So I'm very sorry that you got a friend in me for whatever it's worth. And I'm rooting for you. And I hope that you do well. And I hope that your kid lets you get some sleep soon. All right, guys. I will talk to everybody later. And thank you all for being here.